Hello everyone, how are you doing? I think you all are fine. I'm very happy that my podcast has reached the 50th episode. Today is the 50th episode, and you all have given lots of love and affection to that podcast. That's how we have reached the 50th episode. Once again, thank you so much for loving it. And of course, since this is the 50th episode, so I thought, let me do something different today. So I have a guest. I'm just keeping it under the wraps right now. I have a guest. We would like to explore a few things which have been part of most of my episodes. I think we have always spoken about empathy. We have spoken about authenticity in leadership and how it is important for individuals as well as for the organizations. So today we have a guest. So we have Dr. Patti Phillips, who is not only the chair of IFTDO, and this is International Federation for Training and Development Organizations, Geneva. She is also a very established lady in her own rights, and she is the CEO of ROI Institute, USA, and she's a good friend also. That's how she is there. Thank you, Patti. Thank you so much for agreeing to be a part of this 50th episode.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm thrilled. So thank you.
No, it's a great pleasure that you are there with me for this 50th episode. I mean, it's a matter of happiness and pride for me, and I'm sharing it with you, though that's why it's important.
Thank you.
Thank you for being there. So Patti, we'll straight away go to, we all have spoken about, we have all learned, at some point of the other, we have talked about empathy. We have talked about authenticity in organizations, in lives. So I will straight away go to empathy first. I would like to we all know empathy is not sympathy. Empathy is something else, putting yourself in others' shoes and to know where the shoe pinches. All these things we are aware. But my question to you, because you have lots of experiences of different organizations. I think you have umpteen number of organizations you have seen, you have worked on. So you have seen high-performing teams. So with that, my question to you will be that how have you seen empathy play out as a differentiator in high-performing teams? How does it play as a differentiator?
Yeah. So great question. So based on what I've observed high-performing teams, I don't know how you can have a high-performing team without empathy.
That's good.
People want to be heard and want to know that they've been heard, and that, their perspective is seen. And that's what empathy is all about. Taking yourself out of the issue and putting yourself into the other person's shoes and seeing it through their lens. It doesn't mean you have to agree with their position. That's not what empathy is, but it does mean that you listen. And in high-performing teams, you need that so that you can all get on that same page and move forward at the pace required for whatever the project is. But again, I think it is a critical part of high-performing teams, whatever that team is. It could be a project team, it could be a department, it could be a board of directors, whatever that team is. I think empathy is just a critical part of it.
Oh, okay. See, sometimes this question comes to me whether empathy is first or the high performance is first. Whether because of empathy is there, then teams are performing so high, or because teams are performing so high, that is why empathy is there. I think they are complementing each other.
I do too. I think they're complementing each other. I think that you can have an initial highly performing team without it, because I think sometimes you start, you work, you have someone who's motivating you through. It's, can you sustain that level of performance over time? And without empathy, I don't think so. I think that initial push, we can do it, but you can get burned out, right? If somebody's pushing you and people aren't agreeing, you don't feel seen, you don't feel heard, nobody's listening to your perspective, after a little while you get tired and you get done. So it's a great question. What comes first, empathy or the team? And then maybe does the team, the longer the team works together to ensure that high performance continues and to sustain, that's where empathy comes in. So
does culture play a big role?
Culture plays a huge role in it. Culture plays such an important part in the lifespan of an employee. And there are all types of cultures. I mean, culture can be bad. Well, bad things happen as a result of it. Cultures can be good. Well, good things can happen. Bad things are going to happen either way. Good things could happen either way. But if, as we like to say, hope is not a fact. Hope is not a strategy. Luck is not a factor. Doing nothing's not an option. So you can have a culture that's not really, the best, and hope that good things happen, and they might with any luck. But if we want things to continue to work, for us to continue moving the needle forward in the organization, in the communities, then you need a culture that supports that empathetic leadership, among other things.
Do you believe that authenticity can be learned, or is it innate? And just to take it forward, and how do you see it being received differently in hierarchical structure or hierarchical organization or a flat organization? How do you see that?
So I like this question. I struggle with authenticity. So I hope that my authentic answer does not offend anyone. But I have struggled with it because authenticity, do you really want to be, two things. Do you really want your employees to come in, and be authentic and bring their whole self to work? Do you really want that? And as an employee, do you really want to come into the workplace and bring your whole self and be authentic? And do you want your peers to be authentic? So I think step one is, how are you defining authenticity? You want to bring yourself in. You want to feel like you are yourself.
Correct.
Do you bring your whole self? And I think that's a question that I personally struggle with. Now, it could be how I grew up. It could be, my age or my experience. Maybe I would like that better, but my, experience. It could be my time in life. We didn't do it, right? You had work, and I loved work, and work was myself. That was my life, and I loved it, and I still do. But as you age, you kind of get past, you are who you are, and if they don't like it, it's so bad, too bad. But as you're coming up, it's a little bit harder to do that. So the question is, as you're coming up in an organization, do you really want to be authentic? When I was coming up in corporate, we were nice to people. We were with our friends, but we always knew the boundaries, and there were boundaries. Even on the golf course, when we played golf with your friends, you always knew they were your work friends, and it was different. Today, it's a little bit different because people are more casual and they do have friends, but still things can happen within the workplace that can disrupt that relationship. And so do you really want to be, how authentic do you really want to be? So I think it's important to be yourself. I think can it be learned? I think you can learn to allow yourself to be authentic. I think sometimes people may think they're being authentic, but they're not quite sure who they are and where they are and what their values are. So I think you sometimes have to work toward that and sort out, well, who am I really? And what do I really value? And then do I bring that into the workplace? Now, how it plays out, vertical or horizontal, depends on the culture. It depends on the organization. Absolutely. It can hurt or help either way. Right. So it depends on how supportive. So quick story is, we do, as you know, we do ROI studies and kind of research the impact of different investments in people, programs, and projects. So there was an organization that had a leadership program, and it was values-based leadership. And if I told you the name of the company, everybody would know because it is globally known. But they brought this program, a company brought this program in. And they were trying to see if by implementing this program and changing the behaviors of leaders, could they reduce turnover? Well, what happened is it actually reversed it. It led it to be worse. So after we isolated the effects of the program on the measure, there was evidence that this program and these behaviors were really driving people out. So we did the research, and what we found out is through this programs, these employees realized there was a misalignment between their values and the company's values, and they left. So yes, the ROI was negative. It hurt the company in the short term, but in the long term, it changed how they were bringing people in, what they were looking for. And it was that value and goals clarity that happened up front, so that when people came in, the alignment existed. So I think that, that alignment about values and who you are should happen up front. And it happens in the acquisition stage. You need to know who these people are that you're looking to hire.
Absolutely.
And people who are looking for jobs need to really understand what is the company really about, and is there alignment up front? And that's what authenticity is. It's knowing who you are and what you value, and then bringing that to the organization, but you want to ensure the organization supports that. Otherwise,
it's a lose-lose situation.
It's a lose, for both sides. Nobody wins.
Yes.
But I like the authenticity question, because I've always struggled with that. It's like, do you really want people to be authentic? What does that mean? So
Good. We have spoken about empathy. We have spoken about authenticity. Okay, you are an expert in measurement. So, have you come across, whether it is anecdotal or analytical, to measure this impact of empathy on empathetic leadership on any organizations or anywhere else?
Yeah.
In your experience, have you come across that? And how do you really measure that? What is your view on that?
No, another great question, right? You're full of great questions. This is why I like your podcast.
Oh, thank you.
So there are a lot of instruments that measure leadership and empathetic leadership in particular. So in our work, what we do is we take that behavior, the empathetic leadership, the behavior itself, and we look at the consequences of that. So we've done lots of studies on leadership development. We love leadership and leadership development because it's just an interesting investment when you're developing leaders, and the outcomes can be tremendous. And what we find with empathetic leadership, there is an impact. And we've seen impact anywhere from, turnover to citizen complaints to, machines being tripped, right? There's just so much that it can have. But what's interesting is, as leaders go up the ladder, does that empathetic or empathy, help them go up the ladder? And I think in today's work environment, it's hard to go up the ladder as a leader without it.
Absolutely.
Right. In the old days, and we both remember those days where you were, you had the bulldozer type leader to get to the top, and it worked for them. But that's not what people tolerate anymore. We don't do that anymore. What we do find that is observable is how not being empathetic can hold you back. So it's obvious to see that. So sometimes, leaders go up, and like I said, you kind of have to be empathetic to make your way up in many organizations. But when you're not empathetic, it's obvious that it's holding you back, because people want to be heard. People want to know that they're being listened to.
Yes.
And today's employees don't tolerate what we once tolerated when we were growing up.
Very true. That's what, it has completely changed. And today we were also we talk about alpha generation alpha. So that's something different, even it's beyond Gen Z. But that's looking at positive side of it. It is probably the requirement. I think probably we tolerated unnecessarily within
hats off to them, because we tolerated things we shouldn't have tolerated, but we did. But things change as we move on, and that's what's happened now. So
that's great. What we have talked about empathy and authenticity, and you have really helped us understand how that can be measured. And see, the point which you have brought out very clearly is that if you don't do it, then what we lose out, that's more important.
Yeah.
People have to realize whether you are gaining out of it is not important. If you are losing out, if you don't do it, that's more important.
Yeah, it's a consequence of
it's
not
a
doing
consequence
it.
of
Consequence
not
of not doing it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Patti, for really giving these insights. So, friends, as we draw close to this discussions today, I thank Dr. Patti Phillips to be part of it. Let us understand one thing, that leadership, Patti, I just also wanted to tell that leadership is, in this digital era or in this era particularly, it doesn't mean that you have to be perfect at all points of time. But only thing, you have to be at what it is required at that particular point of time. That's more important. I probably feel that way. And with your views, with your insights, I think probably we are more clearer how empathy and how your beautiful views on authenticity, how does it play it out in a leader's life. So thank you once again. Thank you, Patti, for being there. And I'm extremely happy that you stayed with me for this 50th episode of podcast. Thank you, friends, for watching it, and we will have many more.